Hi guys, just a quick video to show you how to cache functions. Here's a little problem with our convert function. Imagine that this convert function is getting called all over our application by many different parts of it, and it's converting a lot of different currencies all the time. Imagine we have some sort of application that does currency conversion for our users. You'll know by reading the documentation that this self.latest only changes once an hour. So if you make this request 1,000 times an hour, you're actually always going to get the same value back. Which means that making the request and actually interacting with the server, sending them data, getting them to send you data back, and all that is a bit of a waste, just because it's never going to change. Now, if you are on a paid plan, it does change more often, but because we're not, and we don't really need the granularity of changing every minute, we can stay on the free plan and we can prevent our program from making this request over and over again as we use the convert function. So what we're going to do is we're going to first of all time the function. So we'll say input time, and then we're going to say that the start time is time.time and the end time is time.time, and then we're going to print end minus start. What this is going to give us here in our code is how long it takes for this convert function to run. So if we press app and play, you'll see that it takes about half a second to run. So that's quite slow, and it's normal. It's normal that it takes that amount of time because it has to send data over the internet. It has to wait for the server to process it. It has to wait for the server to send data back over the internet, and then it has to do some work. However, if we do this over and over, for example, let's do it 3 times, say, and we will actually do this 3 times. So I just copy and paste it 3 times, not the greatest thing to do, but just to show you that it always takes more or less the same amount of time. It always takes about half a second. So we're going to go over to our OpenExchange file, and we're going to cache this function so that the subsequent times we use it is instant. There is a built-in module in Python called functools that we may have seen before, and the functools module has a functools.lru cache, and we can define the max size, for example, to be 2. So the LRU cache means least recently used, and the max size is how many elements will stay in the cache. So maybe we should first of all explain what a cache is. A cache is just a piece of storage that keeps data temporarily, and the data that it keeps is data that is used or needs to be used so that when you want to use it again or you want to access that data again, it is very fast. So by caching this function, we're going to put the arguments of the function and the result into this temporary storage. Whenever we use the function again with the same arguments, it's going to get the data from the storage instead of running the function. So as long as the arguments don't change, the result will be instant. And that is why we've put a max size of 2, because this has no arguments, so it's never going to take up more than 1 slot in the cache. If you have arguments, then you may want to increase your max size so that you can account for different permutations of the arguments. Let's run app.py again, and you'll see how now the first instance takes 0.65 seconds, but subsequent instance take 5 essentially nanoseconds, I think that is. A very small amount of time, and you see that the program did finish much quicker. There is a small problem with this though, which is that if we have this application running and it runs for a very long time, because this only ever appears in the cache once, there are no arguments, it will never get removed from the cache, which means that our application will always be limited to using the first request that it ever made to the server. If our application runs for longer than an hour, that means that after an hour, this response will be outdated, because if we were to request it again, it would have changed in the server. What we want to do is we want to cache, but only up to an hour. And for that, we have to use a different package that we're going to look at in the next video. I'll see you there.